Hello, friends. My name is Sensei Alex Kakuyo, and I'm a teacher in the Bright Dawn Center of Oneness Buddhism. I'm also the author of the Buddhist blog, The Same Old Zen. The title of today's talk is Why Do We Focus on the Breath During Seated Meditation? And to answer that question, I'll start by explaining how I learned to meditate. So I've been practicing for about a year on my own, and I walked into a Zen center for the first time, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything in terms of how to meditate. So I asked a senior student to walk me through it, and she agreed to do so. So she took me into the meditation hall, sat me down on a cushion, and told me this verbatim: stare at the wall, breathe in, breathe out, don't move until you hear the bell. That was it. Stare at the wall, breathe in, breathe out, don't move until you hear the bell. Now, those are very simple instructions, but I realize now, almost a decade later, that they're also very powerful instructions. So much so that I still use them to this day. That being said, what I thought and what most people think when they're told to concentrate on the breath is that this is a beginner practice and there must be something more to it. But that's not the case. In fact, single-pointed concentration on the breath is such a powerful practice that the Buddha, in his wisdom, devoted an entire sutta to it in the Pali Canon. But that begs the question, how does it work and why is it effective? Well, very simply put, we as humans have what's called a fight or flight response, which means if we feel threatened, our brain sends signals to our body that we need to get ready to either fight or flee, run away. And what happens when we do that, or when our brain does that, is it takes blood away from the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for higher thinking. It's in the front of the brain, and it moves that blood flow to the amygdala, which is more towards the base of the brainstem. And that's responsible for, again, that fight or flight response, that instinctive response. And that makes sense, obviously. If we're being attacked by a wild animal, we don't want to sit there and think about what's happening. We need to do something, right? So if you've ever thought or heard someone say, I was so mad I couldn't think, or I was so scared I couldn't speak, well, that's why. The part of the brain that handles those things was being starved for blood because it was all being sent to other places. And this is fine when we're in the forest and we're fighting off a grizzly bear, but in our day-to-day lives, in traffic, in the office, with our family, it can be very detrimental. So how do we control this? Well, the way our brain tells our body that it needs to get ready for fight or flight is through the breath. The breath becomes very quick and very shallow. And what happens is our heart rate goes up. Our cortisol, the stress hormone, is released into our body. That in turn releases adrenaline. So, since the fight or flight response starts with the breath, if we want to stop it, we have to go back to the breath. And we do this through deep, controlled, mindful breathing. We breathe in, feeling the air moving into our lungs, feeling the chest expanding, focusing on these physical sensations. Then we breathe out. Same thing, feeling the air go out of our nostrils, feeling our chest contract. And as we can take control of our breath, we disentangle that fight or flight response. The blood flow goes from the amygdala back to our prefrontal cortex so we can think more clearly. The parasympathetic nervous system gets engaged, and everything goes back to a state of homeostasis. So what we're doing on the cushion is we're practicing stopping that fight or flight response and returning our body to a state of calm, which is why I always say if your mind wanders during meditation, it's okay. In fact, it's supposed to wander. That's part of the practice, because as it wanders and we think about the coworker who upset us, the guy who cut us off in traffic, the 3-year-old who had a tantrum in the supermarket, and that fight or flight response kicks in, and then we disentangle that by bringing our focus back to our breath, and then it wanders again and the fight or flight starts, but then we bring our focus back to our breath and we calm down. As we do that over and over and over again, we're literally rewiring our brain so that we instinctively control that fight or flight response when it happens. So eventually we're not doing single pointed concentration on the breath only on the cushion. We're doing it in the supermarket. We're doing it in the car. We're doing it in the office. Anytime we feel that tension, however it arrives in our body, for me, it's a tension right in my chest. It's almost like a fire. I instantly start concentrating on the breath and it all goes away. But to do that, we have to start by doing what? Practicing single pointed concentration on the breath during seated meditation. So it's actually a very advanced practice that we're doing, and it's something we should take very seriously. Don't let the simplicity fool you. And if you've never done it before, it's very simple. Again, breathe in, breathe out. And if you have trouble concentrating, you can add a count to it. So each inhale, exhale, 1, do it again, 2, do it again, 3, go up to 10. And once you get to 10, start over again. And again, keep going and don't move until you hear the bell. So that's the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. If you'd like to read articles I've written on Buddhist practice, you can do that at my blog, The Same Old Zen, which is at sameoldzen.blogspot.com. You can also email me at sameoldzen@gmail.com if you have any additional follow-up questions, or leave a comment below, because I love to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you're watching on either Facebook or Twitter, don't forget to share and retweet this post. That way we can continue learning together. So, until next time, Amitabha.